the work we're doing in our cloud space. We look at solving for digital transformation through leveraging 5 pillars. The first is data. And I start with data because in a world where AI is becoming very topical, if you do not fix your data, if you are not able to leverage your data within your organization, within the context of your work, as artificial intelligence is concerned. So skills development
what happens, those people, they take their skills with them. But the original organization needs to fill those skills. So it's a necessarily increasing number of skills. And then eventually what happens is the environment is correct for innovation. And those people get tired of the corporate life and they do startups. And this is how it flows. We've seen this happen again and again. If the environment is correct, the startups will flourish, and that's where innovation really creates jobs and creates value in the economy.
Yes, Mr. Rao, what are the barriers you encountering while implementing your policies and strategies in Africa?
In a large part, it's awareness. It's an understanding that embracing cloud need not be this big bad wolf that is in the room and chasing you down. It is understandable that as we engage with organizations, as we engage with countries, that people take a conservative stance on how cloud and the technologies that it implies and its implications for the country. So we're working very closely as Google with regulators within a lot of African countries to be able to create this awareness and educate the benefit of cloud. Specifically, as a lot of our technologies, from a security perspective, from a privacy perspective, have been tried and tested in more established markets like Europe and the Americas and Asia to a certain extent as well. So there is that learning that we can bring. So I think a large impediment to that we need to solve for as Google and working with a larger ecosystem of partners such as yourself within Angola as well, is to create that awareness.
Okay. Is it the same? You're just finding implementing your projects in Africa?
It's very much the same. Somebody said this to me yesterday. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think identifying opportunity.
When it's about an African elephant, it's a huge one. It's a giant elephant.
Exactly.
So
it's impossible to eat at once, right? Many small bites. And I think the reality is that trying to solve for the whole problem at once is very hard and will take a long time. Rather, let's start somewhere small. You know? Maybe we come back on stage next year and you ask about the numbers again. Right? And we say, how many people have we, to Tarun's point, enabled? Have we created awareness about our programs, our technologies, our capabilities? And I think we will have a different discussion next year. Because our intention, you know, as Africa Digital Group, we're here in Angola. We want to build those skills. We want to help drive this digital transformation. So it'll be a really good opportunity next year at ANGOTIC 2025 to have the same discussion.
Yes, Mr. Tarun Rao, I'll ask you to elaborate more on what do you see happening in Africa in terms of digital transformation. I think you can share the question.
Sure. There's an interesting contrast developing in Africa. We have, I feel, a large number of enterprises, the large companies, the traditionally large companies, that have held sway on the continent, in economies, traditionally so for a long time, and naturally so. Digital transformation for them is to be able to unlearn a lot of their legacy and to relearn for a new future, to participate in a new digital economy. On the other end of the spectrum, we have specifically, and this is important to the context of Africa, the startup economy. a large number of startups are now starting to nip at the heels of these traditional enterprises. I'll take an example of the financial space, the fintech space. We find that to solve for financial inclusion, where the larger, more traditional financial institutions have found it difficult to move at the pace that is required to serve banking and financial services to the unbanked and even the underbanked, the fintech and the startup ecosystem has started to fill that gap. This has been largely in the space of digital wallets, the payments ecosystem, business banking, and soon I would venture corporate as well, because these startups are growing and scaling in the African space. And I'd like to say fueled by Google Cloud as well in doing so. Hope that answers your question.
Daniel, please.
So we see, to go back to the themes that Tarun mentioned earlier, data and AI being a big area that customers want to hear about. And customers are using. And they're using it for a number of reasons. One is just to understand, for example, their customer better. If you have a bank, they always struggle with different pieces of information about a particular client. Having one place where you can understand all of the different pieces of the customer unlocks a lot of value. So that's one area we see customers doing a lot, and we see it in the retail space across Africa. We see it in the financial space as well. The other area is obviously artificial intelligence. And this is an interesting one because it's not so much about artificial intelligence for artificial intelligence's sake. It's how can we use artificial intelligence to do a number of things. And generally speaking, it's either create efficiency in the business, which is great for businesses. You drive cost down and cost of technology down, which is great. But also creating new experiences and new revenue streams for customers. And so it's not just about creating new flashy things with AI. It's about decreasing the cost to run the business through automation and increase the value and the revenue that you as a business can make. And we see this happening across the board. I think third area is really around cybersecurity. So, you know, the landscape and the threats that we see are growing very quickly. And the best way to address these is with the use of technology. So digital transformation in that context is critical. It's not a nice to have. It's absolutely necessary to embrace technology to be able to address the volume of threats, the type of threats that are evolving over time. And so, you know, these are the areas that we're working on. We work with government entities, we work with commercial sector entities, large and small, in these three areas, generally speaking, around digital transformation.
Yes, Mr. Tarun mentioned about the need of responsible and ethics use of AI. So, as we know, this AI revolution is one of the things that excites the youth. So how do you see the need of training of cybersecurity specialists in the continent? Yes, Mr. Tarun.
Again, a very important question, and I'm hoping it deserves important consideration as well. If bad actors now have access to the same technology that we have access to now, one can automatically assume that there's going to be an escalation in how this technology can be used for nefarious purposes. So it's very important that in using our technology, specifically AI, responsibly, that we do so. We adopt these technologies to be able to fight cybersecurity threats. A good example here is threat intelligence. There are myriads of sources of threat intelligence out there. Tons of data that gets created, that gets generated. Just take a simple example of log files from servers. Tons of data. It's going to take a human being a copious amount of time to analyze that data, identify a threat, and potentially action it. Now, if a bad actor on the other end is using AI and technology, and it becomes or behoves us, AI ourselves, right? Applying these analytics, identifying key vulnerabilities, and taking action fast. I think that is going to be key here.
Okay. What about your insights?
Yeah, so what
on
we've
this training of cybersecurity specialists?
specifically cybersecurity, yeah, we've seen this concept of the center of excellence has worked quite well within companies. And so, a model that we've seen work very well is you take people that are straight out of university, you bring them into the organization as interns, you train them on with a rigorous program on this specific area of cybersecurity. So the tools to use, the techniques to use, the concepts that are there, and then once those people in that program are ready, and it's usually at least a year program, then they can go out into the organization and help the organization where they need it. What we're seeing happening is that some organizations have a surplus. They have more interns in the cohort than jobs to fit them. And that creates a nice opportunity for partnership. So this is where we all work together, right, to make sure that we're all safe. And
So you're talking about partnership with who?
with those organizations that have these programs.
Okay.
So, I was chatting with a bank, happened to be in South Africa recently, but the same model applies. They've got this program, they have trained more than they need. And so they ask us, can you take these people on? Do you have roles for them? Can you speak to your customers if they need cybersecurity specialists? And I think that's the place where we are now, is when it comes to things like cybersecurity, there's no point competing with each other for these skills. We can build them together and all benefit from them in that way.
Thank you. We'll just allow 2 questions from the audience. If anyone has a question, we'll allow 2 questions. Yes, I can see there someone. I said 2, then we have 3. Okay, all right. Let's take them. Okay, 3 questions. I can see raising hands. Okay, start with you, this side. On our right side, yes, just here in the 2nd row, I guess, yes. Can you ask your questions, please? Your question, just 1 question per each. Oh, microphones. Sorry for that. Maybe, so we need the support of the technician team to provide a microphone for the participants. Okay, maybe you will need translation. Okay, I'll try to help on that because I guess he's going to ask the question in Portuguese.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
Okay, there we have. We have the microphone now. Please, questions, not comments. Peço perdão, peço desculpas, creio que vai perguntar em português. Agradeço que coloquem mesmo perguntas e não façam comentários, que sejam telegráficos das questões que vão colocar. São 3 questões que nós vamos aceitar, vamos acolher aqui para os representantes do painel. A primeira pessoa que levantou a mão é exatamente sim, ok? Faz favor o seu nome e a pergunta.
I can ask in English.
In English, okay. No
All right.
problem.
My name is Paulino Mwamba, and I have a question for Mr. The one is in the mirror from the Google. Okay. Based on the investment that the CEO has made for Africa, and aligned with the ANGOTIC's motto for this year, which is digitize, connect, and innovate, when will we have a center like the other African countries in Angola? And what are the strategies that strategies breaking, right? Let me get back to action this.
We said just
And
one question. This is the second question.
Yeah. Strategies for breaking through the connection challenges and breaking down this project to the remote communities, given that the number of users in other provinces is quite small. That is my question.
Thank you for the question.
Can you just take first the questions and then your...
Oh, sure.
Okay. Is it possible?
We can do that, yeah.
Will you memorize? You trust you
We'll
memorize?
try my best, yes.
Okay. So when we keep getting old,
Yes,
we,
you are
we
right.
keep also forgetting things. All right. Segunda pergunta, se faz favor. Pois, o senhor que levantou a mão aqui do meio, devia ser. Pode, ok. Faz favor.
Okay. We also ask in English.
Oh, all right. Perfect.
My question will be for the representative of Google. As you told, you say that the most use of Google Cloud come here in Africa. I wanna understand how can you explain about this? Because we are develop our infrastructure. Why the most user of this service come to the Africa?
Last question, please. A question, please. Gostaríamos mesmo de ouvir perguntas. Perguntas diretas para
So,
facilitar.
my name is Pedro Zau. I have a question for the representative of Google. My question is, so I can understand that of the main, I can understand the main of barriers of, I can understand that the barriers of Google in front of Angola is the fault of abilities. So Angola have centers or other centers that especially... Estou um pouco nervoso em português.
É
Sim,
melhor.
yeah.
Temos tradução.
Sim.
Faz
Sim,
favor.
deu para notar que uma das maiores barreiras que a Google está a enfrentar
One of
cá
the barriers,
é a
they've
falta de habilidades por parte das pessoas.
lack of ability, capacity, skills. You know, this is one of the barriers he's just mentioning. Okay.
Uma vez que Angola já possui empresas focadas nessa área, não seria melhor investir
has
nessas
now.
empresas?
Angola has companies that are, doing the role in this area. It's not better to invest on these companies so that they can, make things easy in terms of capacity building and, and training of the youth people. Yes.
I understand.
Maybe you can start from the last question, right?
No, actually, I picked up a theme
All right.
in the questions, and I can potentially try and connect it all together. If I miss something, please keep me honest. So there was a question initially about when, and I think the question was when in the context of Angola. It's an important question because the reason we are here as Google, as Africa Digital Group, is to find answers ourselves to exactly that. The important aspect here is to build relationships, to identify the right partnerships within the corporate environment that is Angola, within the small to medium segment that is the economy that is Angola. What this allows us to do is to qualify demand. And once we have a strong understanding of demand, we send those signals back up to the Google mothership. So it's a very and I'll take a leaf out of what my colleague Daniel said a little bit earlier. Somebody said to me yesterday, all good stories start with a beginning, and this is the beginning of the Angolan and Google story. We're going to put in the work to be able to identify and answer that question exactly when. And I think the follow-up question to that was what's happening, and in terms of the platforms and platforms that are being used from a Google perspective, and why not Africa? It is in fact it is in Africa that we're seeing a lot of these volumes. You just take one of our products in the broader Google umbrella, that is Android, and the penetration of Android devices on the continent. There's a large bank in Angola, and I'll take, without mentioning the name of the bank, I'll just take the example of the bank to make a point. 80% of this particular bank's customers are on the Android platform, right? Now, think about the opportunity that represents, the data that this particular bank has access to as a consequence of that. Being informed allows you to act, and being informed allows you to act for the better. So I guess the question here, and the answer to your question is about making sure that we use the technology already in place and to build upon that to benefit Angola.
Just want to add one sentence here, and I really like the question, the last question here. Thank you for it. It's important to use the people and the capabilities in place already as well.
Correct.
So to answer that question directly, I think here as Africa Digital Group, it's best that we partner with the entities that are already in place, as you suggest. Because why? Why? Because of scale. Because, you know, I spoke about eating the elephant earlier. If you really want to eat the elephant, and there's another proverb I love.
This is another elephant.
Well, this is not an elephant.
Maybe from
This is about
Asia.
running a race. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
And I think that's the key in this particular instance, is it's about working together rather than in competition, because we're trying to eat a very big elephant. It must be an African bull, I think.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to the final words. But before that, as I understood from your answer for the Google, this is like a fact-finding mission that brought you here to Angola, to this ANGOTIC.
Correct.
Is that a yes or no question?
Yes.
Can it be a yes or no question?
It can be a yes or no question, but it deserves some elaboration.
Okay, you can go on.
No, and the answer is yes.
Okay.
This is not Google's first entry into Angola, but as some of the key individuals looking to make a difference in this space and bring Google Cloud and as a consequence digital transformation to Angola, yes, this is a fact-finding mission. And a lot more work needs to happen, as my friend Daniel mentioned, together to be able to establish that win.
Is it the same for the ADG?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Beginning of your story in Angola?
we have a head
So
start.
partnership, investments.
We have a head start. We already have some presence here.
Okay.
I'd like to say we convinced Google to come here, but that's not really true. Again, we're partners. We see an opportunity here, and Google does too. So we're going to work together. And I really think we should have this same discussion in 1 year.
In 1 year?
Yeah.
You mean in next ANGOTIC?
Yes, and we have a review.
Okay,
We see-
our minister is there, he's just taking notes.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so
Very
it's,
good.
it's just a commitment.
Very good. I'll be
All
back.
right. Okay. Yes, let's go to the final word, starting with 30 seconds for Mr. Tarun Rao from Google Cloud Africa.
Thank you.
Final word.
I'll start my ending by saying it's a privilege to be here. I think you had positioned our presence here as a fact-finding mission, yes. But more importantly, from a Google perspective, what I find important is to seek like-minded people, like-minded partnerships through which we can build together for Angola.
Thank you. Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, I think in closing, my summary is there is a lot of opportunity here in Angola. There is a lot of desire to do things, to innovate. And I think we're here to build, and we're here to really drive meaningful change and impact here in Angola.
Okay, let's see as highlights of this panel. We have digital strategies can be more accessible by building centers of excellence in Angola, or we're talking about African context, especially to target digital economy. And we have also one of the points raised, the need of data protection, and especially for the infrastructure, capacity building needed. Also trying to connect, digitalize, and innovate in very high level, taking into account the youth, responsibility in the use of AI. There is a need of responsible AI and responsible ethics. AI should be used for the benefit of human beings. That's one of the points. And to conclude, for the Google, this is a beginning of Angolan Google story. Thank you very much. So we've come to the end of the panel, and I'll ask applause to my panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a picture,
No.
family picture. So, yes. I don't know. So, we can say. Podes anunciar, já a tua parte, a parte da mestre cerimónia.
Muito obrigada, senhores. Thank you, gentlemen. You can now take your seats. Thank
Ladies and gentlemen, we came to the end of the second day. Tomorrow we'll be back here for the closing ceremony. The minister would like to shake the hands of the participants. Tomorrow will be for the closing ceremony. That's going to be for the third and last day of ANGOTIC 2024. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And we are going to start now with parallel session in every room here and at HCTA. Thank you very much for your attention.
Eu awabele mukizu wa kwenyu